Welcome everybody to our final cohort call, Cohort A, the Mozillian Wizards. I'm your host, Rob. I'll be emceeing today. Just a reminder that this is live streamed on YouTube. There's a link to it. Share it with your friends. They can see it now or later. If everyone would just fill out their name under the roll call, remember to include a link to your social media. And then before we get started, just also a reminder to fill out your project down underneath. We'll go in order of the projects. Everyone will have 2 minutes to sort of give an overview of their project and then how we can all help. With that, we can get started. Welcome again. This is our final call. It's pretty exciting. It's kind of mind-boggling that 14 weeks is already flown by. I'm super excited to hear about all the progress that everyone's made. Just a reminder of our community participation guidelines. Be inclusive, be respectful, be honest, accommodating, don't attack, demean, disrupt, harass, or threaten anybody else. And if you have any problems, if you feel like any of those things have occurred, you can always contact me or Abby, and we'll help you out. One more thing before we get started. This couldn't have been possible without help from other people. So there's a special section underneath the roll call for Friends of Mozilla. So I'll highlight them right now, but feel free to throw in some shout outs there, and we'll come back to it later. Abby wants to thank me for being an awesome host. Thank you, Abby. Anytime. And wants to thank Bjorn, Charles, and Juan for helping them develop new Galaxy tools and training materials. Lauren wants to thank Jenna, Zeen, from the Bernard and Alex, their mentor. And then Bradley wants to thank OpenWorm Foundation, which was timely because he's going to be our first presenter. Again, if you have any other shout outs, please put them here. I'll come back to them in a little bit. So with that, let's get to the content. Let's get to the meat of it with the projects. I think we're going to start with Bradley, and he's going to talk about OpenWorm DevoWorm curriculum. So Bradley, take it away.
Let me share my screen. Okay, let's see. It's having trouble starting a slideshow, I think, with, there we go. Let's start over here. Okay, welcome to my presentation on the OpenWorm DevoWorm curriculum. I'm Bradley Alicia, and I am developing this for the OpenWorm Foundation and the DevoWorm group. The purpose of this project is to facilitate contributions and present key ideas to potential contributors. We are focused on the OpenWorm Foundation community. Our outcomes we expect are new collaborations and contributions to be enabled. New contributors can bolster existing strengths with knowledge in new areas, so we're facilitating interdisciplinary knowledge. And new contributors can help build and refine a collaborative education platform. This platform includes a front end, which we've done in Eliotomy. The links will be at the end of the talk. You can see that we have a number of different types of curriculum here. And that comes to the back end where you can also contribute. And this is more directly into the curriculum. So we have tutorials and short courses and things like that. And that can all be accessed in a GitHub repo. We also have So this is an example of the education section. This has a listing, and it's in the GitHub repo of all the different resources. We also have an example of a short course, Developmental Data Science. That's just one example of our offerings, and it involves a formal curriculum, but some of the resources are just simply links to other assets that the OpenWorm Foundation has. This is an example of a tutorial that we have, so it's very detailed, but it's just a very general overview of these different topics in development and in worm computational biology. Here's an example of our existing assets that I've integrated into this. These are digital badges which are earned through the OpenWorm Foundation. If you do a couple of tasks, you can get one of these, and you can access these through our curriculum. So how to get involved? Enroll in the course via Allotomy. You can review and contribute to either the front end or the back end, and you can do contributions in multiple forms. And there's more information in the repo in a document called How to Contribute. And here are the links at the end of the talk for the front end and the back end. Thank you.
Awesome work. Nice. So it looks like all the information is in the Google Doc, including some questions and / comments from the audience. So just a reminder, if people have things that they want to know about these projects, if it's got them excited, please fill in some questions. There's two here for Bradley. The first is just from Abby saying thank you for putting this together, and that she loves OpenWorm, very vocal about that. And then also, so is the other one's for me. Is there a badge for the sprint if somebody were to?
We don't have one. I could make one before the sprint, but
seems like something that could be a badge.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, if there's no other questions, we can head on to the next project, which is Zeen Union Catalog.
Okay, thank you. I'll share my screen now. So I'm presenting on the Zeen Union Catalog, and here is our prototype interface. And to give you an overview of what the Zeen Union Catalog is, it's the home of a union catalog dedicated just to zines. A union catalog is a resource where libraries and other cultural institutions can share both cataloging and holding information from their individual collections. And the Zeen Union Catalog facilitates researchers' discovery of zine holdings by searching a single catalog interface, which helps catalogers also copy records and facilitates the lending of materials across the libraries and other cultural institutions. The Zeen Union Catalog strives to serve educators, researchers, creators of zines, librarians, archivists, and anyone else interested in zines and zine creation. So now I've said the word zines quite a few times, so let me explain what I mean by that. Zines are self-produced and self-published literature that often feature countercultural, political, and artistic content. Typically, zines are produced in small print runs and are often distributed directly by the author or through distros, meaning that they are specialized in their area of collections and are not findable or purchasable via traditional publishing streams like Barnes & Noble or Amazon or anything like that. These zines often provide a firsthand, intimate, and authoritative account of social, political, and art historical movements and provide evidence of knowledge production and dissemination within radical, queer, and other subcultural communities. So they're a very rich source of information that researchers over the last several years and others have become increasingly interested in. However, because of their unique nature of being published and distributed, they're not always described consistently. They're not always collected in traditional ways that books or journals might normally be in libraries and cultural institutions. So the Zeen Union Catalog will fill this need of being able to provide one area where these unique and very worthwhile zines can be found and located by researchers. So now just to quickly demo here, this is our prototype. There's several already contributing cultural institutions. And a simple search here just by doing queer, and you can see what will show up. And this is kind of the different zine collections up here that represent material from the contributing collections. And then these are the different zines and objects in our collection. So that's the Zeen Union catalog. It's been in existence for about 10 years now, but growing over the last 2 years. And then in just the final last couple of months or 14 weeks of working with open leaders, we've really kind of gotten some project management under wrap and got our GitHub repo up and running. So let me take a quick look at the GitHub repo so you can see how to get involved. There's more description here. And lastly, there are several issues that I posted, and the biggest for the May Mozilla Sprint would be we need to get an updated directory of zine collections and zine libraries throughout the world. So if anyone's interested in identifying where those exist, you can share your information there at that issue in the GitHub repo. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Awesome project. Let's go to the questions. Looks like there's a note here from Jenny that you've already responded to, just saying that she was an alumnus from the Zine Club at Bernard. Alex, awesome project. Did a huge leap forward over the last couple of weeks. Abby, what an amazing resource. Awesome work. I have a question. Is there like a zine or a place that would be like an entry point into sort of the zine culture, the zine scene? I've heard about them a ton, but I've never really dove in.
Sure. So yeah, there's Zine Fest happening all over the world quite regularly. And that would be a good, if you can just identify one in your local community, just search for Zine Fest, and I don't know what town you live in, but and attend one and just get to know the zine creators there. And you can also follow Zine Cat on Twitter, and we're constantly kind of sharing out when those events are taking place. And there's so many zine librarians that are super active on Twitter, and zine creators as well. So just kind of following them on social media.
Perfect. Thanks. All right, up next, socializing open access in the humanities. Jenny, the floor is yours.
Hey, and so it's Jenny and Lillian, who's also here.
Oh, I didn't see those. Hi, Lillian.
Hi.
So that Rob, I'd suggest maybe starting with a small press book called Still in Sharpie Revolution by Alex Reck is a good place to start with zines. But so we are working on a project called Socializing Open Access in the Humanities. We were actually in the last cohort, so you have not really seen us, but we worked with Rob through this cohort to advance our project. And the project is based on a bunch of ideas and research that we had about how open access works in the humanities versus how it works in science. So what we're doing is we're creating resources for and working with humanities researchers and educators to find ways to integrate open practices into their workflows and articulate the value of humanities work so that educators and learners can have better access to the breadth of extant and emerging humanities research. The project's output is going to be hopefully going to be a research hub and resource guide to help learners discover, use, and better understand humanities discourse in the academy and beyond. Using our collective skills as librarians, researchers, and storytellers, we are hoping to create a collaborative hub and community to learn more and do more with humanities research. So in the last cohort, we created a website. There are a lot of GitHub issues that you can you can contribute to. There is a resource guide, and do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, so one of the issues that we were faced with early on was figuring out how to work with humanities researchers and a general lack of use of GitHub in that space. So we ended up going with a large Google Doc and outlining a framework for different sections that we'd like to see contributions to. So that's what that main link is, and that's our main output. And so we've got 7 sections about humanities research that are all open for contribution from anyone. We figured this would be sort of a lower barrier to entry than GitHub for most humanities researchers. So the ways that you can help are to contribute to either the issues on our GitHub repo or directly into that doc, to share out with humanities researchers, educators, students, hobbyists, people that are interested in access to humanities work. And for the Sprint for Internet Health, if you've got any information about subject areas listed in the doc, we're interested in this area, but we're obviously not like cohesive experts on humanities research, so we're looking to gain more. And our next steps for this project are we've gathered a group of international humanities researchers and educators, and we're hoping to get some dedicated time to work together this October on building out this resource beyond our knowledge as librarians and storytellers.
So we spent a lot of the time during this particular cohort working on this application, assembling this group of people. I think I'm pretty proud of the application. I'm sure Lillian as well.
Yep.
And getting this group of people together to hopefully work on this in October. And so the 2 things that this group was interested in was taking this project a step further, and also on possibly writing an academic paper about the process of it. Are there any questions?
Nice. There's 2 comments. The first one's, love the website, super shiny.
Thank you.
And then also love the focus on humanities and thoughtfulness on helping others contribute. Go check out that website and the repository in that Google Doc. It's all laid out for you if you're interested in this. Otherwise, if you have any other questions, you can drop them in the Google Doc. I'm sure either Lillian or Jenny will respond to it.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
All right. The next one, I believe it's Women Against Corruption Open Project. I see Veronica. I see there we go.
Hi everyone. I want to share my screen. So okay, and this is the website. They have the prototype for the project Women Against Corruption. The project consists in 2 things. The first is to create awareness about the linkages between corruption and gender equality, specifically the different impacts that corruption has on women over men, because it seems that corruption is something that helps to increase the gender gap, but there is not also data or segregated data. The only the knowledge that we have about the linkages is only intuitive. So the second purpose of the project is to generate data about the linkages. And for this reason, the tool that we use to generate data is storytelling. We are looking for articles and stories of real cases of corruption and in any type of gender against violence is involved in these stories. And also it's in a space where women or girls from the community can share their own stories of how they have lived corruption. Also, like being careful of the privacy and the protection of data. And women also live corruption, and not only with bribes and money, but also they can live corruption when they are asked for sex as an exchange coin. And this is called sex extortion. That is really relevant in the age of Me Too, the Me Too movement. So this is why we want to take advantage of this. And how to contribute? Well, we are looking for stories. We're looking for people with good writing skills in English or Spanish, because I am based in Mexico. And we have the contribution guidelines here in the website. If you want to know more, you have to click there. And this is one of the type of stories that we are looking for. This is a real case in Mexico about that was called the Porkies, where sexual violence was involved, and also kind of conflict of interest and traffic of influences were involved. It happened in Mexico, in the state of Veracruz, and it involved the story of a girl called Daphne, who was a young underage lady. And she rebelled after leaving a nightclub. She was intercepted by 4 young boys from the upper class called Porkies, who obligated the girl to get into the car. Once in the car, she was sexually abused. And even though 3 arrest warrants were released, only 2 boys were arrested. And it's supposed that the judges were bribed by the families of these boys. So impunity. And this is the kind of stories that we're looking for. But also there are another examples of stories that I wrote. So you can click here if you want to know more. And also this is supposed to be a tool for journalists or feminist advocates, and also for anti-corruption advocates. So they can search for information, and also to lobby policy changes with the project. And that's it.
Awesome. Nice work. Questions, comments? Comments, Abby. Great focus on storytelling. Absolutely. It makes it really exemplifies the issue, especially through the storytelling. And I like that you're focusing on that for the sprint and finding more stories like this. Focusing on storytelling is such a human topic, and it's super nice. I was wondering, do you have any system of transparent verification process? How do you deal with multiple data /info/sources?
Well, this is one of the main critical points of the project, how to verify information. And this is why we're requiring the references of the stories the contributors want to share. For example, in the case of this story of the Porkies, this story was really famous on the media. And there was a lot of noise in the news about the story. But the point is that was not addressed as a problem of corruption and gender. It was only addressed as a problem of sexual violence, where upper class boys were involved, not a topic of corruption and gender, because there is like a no-knowledge about the linkages. It's like a new way to address the topic. So what we are doing is trying to do the links between the two topics, because for example, I wrote sexual type of violence and also what type of corruption was involved. That is conflict of interest and traffic of influences. So there is a lot. If you wrote the title Porkies in Google, you can find a lot of information that is a real case.
Is it possible to tell stories anonymously? There's another question in the Google Docs.
Yes, it's possible. But the only thing is that I am not sure how to verify that the information is true. That's the only thing that if you have like any suggestion about it, I am open to listen to.
Yeah, if someone has a suggestion or knows of a project that uses anonymous sources, please drop that into the Google Doc, and can follow up with that. Great. The next project is the Nordic ESM Hub.
I can share my screen.
Veronica, I think you're still sharing your screen. There we go.
Yes, so you see it, yeah? So it's a Nordic Earth System Modeling Hub. So it's really a hub for sharing knowledge and resources to study the Earth's climate. And what we are very interested in is a regional impact of global changes in the Nordic countries. So what we call Nordic countries, this is what you have here on the picture. This is all the Scandinavian countries. So it's Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and here Estonia. And the goal is really to connect students and researchers so they can get information and share resources, their codes, and what they do in terms of climate. So why are having a Nordic initiative and not a global initiative? This is really because of this regional impact. We have specificity in the Nordic countries because we are far north, so it's very high latitude, so we have different problems. For instance, there are new diseases appearing, like the Lyme disease in the north of Norway or in the north of Scandinavia, because the climate is getting warmer and warmer. So it's very critical for us to work together. Another problem is the territory is quite large and we are very few. So usually, for instance, I'm working here in Oslo. I don't know if you can see it. And my closest colleague is working in Stockholm. So it's much closer for me to discuss and go to Stockholm than to go in the north of Norway, in Tromsø. So this cross-boundary connection is very, very important for us. So what have we done so far? So we have created a GitHub organization, which you can see here, called the Nordic ESM Hub, where we have different repositories. And the focal point of this GitHub repository is a Nordic ESM website, which we have developed, and we got a lot of help for this. So you have different panel, and you have a place where you can improve the page. So what is very important for us, everything is written in Markdown, so anyone can update it. It's easier. So we have some contributing guidelines. You can see here at the top and in the Google Doc. And we really would like to have more contribution from anywhere in the world. So you don't really need to live in a Nordic country, because you can help us to review the material. We have different issues where they are all labeled most sprint. So if you can get of any help, that would be really grateful. And I thank you very much. That's it.
No, thank you. I love that all the issues are broken out for the sprint. Super useful. Abby, comments. Great to see you gather the scientific community in the Nordic countries, which, yeah, that's a super cool angle and take, and clearly has unique needs. If anyone else has questions, again, feel free to put them in the Google Doc. Otherwise, go to that GitHub page and contribute. The next project, the Impartial Machines project. Let's see, is Abhay? I see him. Perfect.
Yeah, hello.
Yep, we can hear you.
Hey everyone. So this is Abhay, and that's my partner Tejishwar actually. So both of us are working on something called as the Impartial Machines project. So it's a good time to be a part of the Humanities program. Now, typically, why we started this initiative was because from what we understood, now the AI or ML, whatever you're trying to run right now, the kind of models that you're trying to generate, now they are based mostly on the quality of data. So in basically, if you talk in the computer science term, so garbage in is garbage out. So typically, you feed in garbage, you get garbage out. And recent collaborations which have happened in the space of recruitment, wherein they have tried to use extensive AI to kind of eliminate the human bias in hiring, has actually resulted in a fallback. Now, even giants like kind of Amazon and the other people, they've actually cut back on using AI for recruitment, and they have defaulted to the previous methodology. Now, a strong attribution to this would be the kind of data you have fed it in to generate the models that are basically used for the AI algorithms. Now, the model is as good as the data is. So now erasing bias from the data sets is the key to creating the impartial machine learning algorithms. But creating a balanced database by itself it's not easy, okay? And there's currently no type of regulation or standard governing the data that is used to kind of train the machine learning algorithms. And you have a lot of things here and there, official frameworks and databases which already have bias ingrained in them. Now, one of the solutions would be to create a shared regulated database that are in position of no single entity, and then you can just prevent any party from unilaterally manipulating the data. That's one. So for that, we use a version control system. And the second aspect of thing would be now, in order to prove our proof of concept, we came up with something called as a dual AI engine. So what it effectively does is it has two engines. So one tries to surpass the other always. Okay. Now one is where you have a response. One is where you have the complete database, the computation, and the other engine always tries to kind of correlate with the engine for the fact checking part of it. So in order to prove the idea, we took up a use case of how do we start eliminating the fake news. Especially in countries like India, where we belong from, elections are being fought on WhatsApp, and there's a huge mob fight or anything of that sort happens just because of the fake news that is being circulated. And again, historical data is presented in a different context altogether. So now what our model aims to do here is, now you take any of the historical data, we do a quick version check of where this data actually belongs to. Now, what is the history of the entire data? And then again, now we just check the similarity index, and then we rank it for the biasing. So Tejeshwar will go through the the technical aspects of things as to how we are doing it and what we have done, what are different parts are open right now, and everything from there.
Yeah, thank you, Abhay. So, hi everyone. And as Abhay was rightly telling about the data is still in bias, so we thought of taking a use case in the news domain. And the first challenge which we faced was the aggregation of news. How do we collect the news, or how do we combine it to one place? So, for that, uh, we have started with something called in Python. So we used Python packages to just crawl the websites and collect the data. So if you see now, this is the news article of today's, where the Japanese emperor is going to, give his position to his son. So this is a news article which the website presently shows. So to collect the news from here and make it a raw text was the first challenge which we were facing. So then we have changed it to like this, where we have changed the whole uh, article into a raw form, and then we have converted it into vectors. I mean, in a technical language, we are just connecting these text into numbers. So we give each and every word a 300 dimension vector which represents this word, and then we have a correlation of something of that kind to summarize the whole raw text data. So this is how the text data looks like. So this is the text which we got from the website after crawling, and this is the summary of it. So now once we get the summary, the idea is, let's say we have got n articles of different domains and different genres and all. So now we try to correlate each and every one of them, such that in a simple manner, say you have got in a XY axis, you have got two different documents. We say have a similarity check. I mean, whether this document is very similar to the other document or not. So in our case, we check the articles. So if once the articles are somewhere related, then we can say that I mean, like Sherlock Holmes, where he always tried to deduce something from a given set of information. We were trying to actually see how each and every article is always dependent on other article. So for example, 10 days ago there was a fire accident in, say, in opaque countries. So due to that, the oil prices per barrel have increased. So that may have a huge effect. Say after 10 days or 20 days, there may be a effect in economy of different countries. So there is a link between these two. But the present news, how they are reporting and all, there's always a bias, and there is always a distinct between these two articles. So we are trying to establish that link, and in a way we are trying to eliminate the fake news. So that's about our project, and we have got our issues open, so we would welcome everyone to come and improve our project and collaborate and contribute to our project, so that it could help the society too.
No, nice work. Let's see. Got some questions / comments. Abby was reminded of a project from last round, the dataset nutrition project. So there might be some similarities and maybe some resources that you could tap into there. Super impressive demo. And you guys have done lots of great work. Super impressed, well done. Yeah, it's pretty clear. Super impressive.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right, moving along here. The next project, inclusive integrated indexing.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to present the initial progress in this inclusive integrated indexing project. So inclusive indexing or inclusive integrated indexing is a project to capture all research output that comes from any research environment, including peer-reviewed research articles, preprints, data sets, and protocols, and so on. So the reason why this project started is because as we all know, traditionally, all of these research outputs or the major valued research output is the peer-reviewed research article, which is the final polished output. But the process of science by itself is, it has different stages, and all of that is not very transparent. And all of that has interim research products, and I wanted to integrate all those interim research products to be searchable and identifiable using a database, and that is one of the aims of this project. And as it started with a big aim, and I was the one who was leading this along, and I was setting smaller things to do as a minimal viable product just to get the idea out, and then have a platform that is openly available where everyone can contribute. So that has been the progress that has been done in the Mozilla Open Leaders 7 during this time. And particularly, I wanted to thank my mentor, Gorla Praveen, for helping me tuning down several steps, and also all of the Mozillian wizards who had helped during all the breakout sessions. Thank you for that. So in particular, so I wanted to just give a brief on what is in this, because as it's an idea that just came out, and it's now as a GitHub repo, which still needs more polishing, where we would require refining and structuring of the online platform, which is basically to invite advisory committees across the globe, which is to actually being more inclusive, that both in terms of geographies and at career stages, where people can contribute in advising how this whole indexing idea should work out. And the other one would be to build and run the platform, which is the developers and coders are welcome to contribute. And then we also wanted to use this as a community-driven platform, which means that needs to be user-dependent, and then user-based testing and designing is also very much welcome. So these are the three key areas that we invite contribution in this project. Yeah, so with that, I would stop and get some comments and questions and feedback from you. Thank you.
Nice work. No, this is really cool. There's always biases with search engines and indexes. And I'm really interested. So I have a question while other people write them down. You're talking about like non-traditional outputs like databases and tools and apps and stuff. But like how do you quantify that? Just like with a URL or?
Initially I used something called as DOI, which was very jargonic, and then I rechanged the phrase as digital identifiers. So whichever has persistent digital identifiers, such as digital object identifier, would be captured, and that is using the APIs, it would be captured. So that's the prime idea behind it. And one other reason why one needs to have a community-driven platform is that the existing platforms are usually commercial, and I mean this is basically an open source of Google Scholar, if you would call, or Microsoft Academic, if you would call it. The reason is because then this can be used in using for evaluation of research outputs themselves. We do not have a right metric. I mean, everything is metrified, but we
Uh-oh. I think we might have lost the internet connection. Are you there?
Done rightly, and that could be also made openly available.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely be checking that out during the global sprint. Other comments, I like the inclusive approach to research, +1, and also nice use of the DOI. I like how it opens up the opportunity to index code for research, which I agree with. Next project is called Docs Alive. Is Julia around?
Yes. Can you hear me?
There's a lot of background noise, Julia, but we can hear you.
Let me try that again.
That's better.
Yeah.
Better, probably not ideal, sorry. Yeah. I work in the field of citizen science, which is science that allows everyone to participate in science, not just people with a degree. And we of science professionals are acting in.
Julia, we're having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out.
You're welcome to present on any of the other cohorts if we can't get you now. I didn't hear that, but I hope you heard
It looks like she muted herself.
Okay. But yeah, Julia, you're welcome to present another cohort. We can also try again at the end to see if your connection got any better.
Okay. Time to Repair is the name of the next project.
Hi, this is Raisa. And well, this program has encouraged me to understand the needs of seamstresses. Understand the needs of my users, seamstresses in this case. I have conducted some interviews to understand why should they care about my project and which are their current internet practices. And second, it has helped me to build a narrative on the project, and it also has given me some tools on how to design an open project. So I will share some of the discoveries I have had during this exploration phase. I will share my screen. Okay. So here we have the challenges. The first challenges is to reduce clothing waste. Young people find it better to buy new clothes instead of repairing the ones they own, and this is causing large amounts of clothing waste and environmental impact. And second, there is also a digital inclusion challenge. Many seamstresses and tailors have the knowledge to repair clothes. However, they don't know how to connect with younger potential audiences or clients. So the idea is to bridge these two generations so they can collaborate. And the Time to Repair project works with tailors and seamstresses in Lima, Peru, to develop collaborative platforms where they can announce their services to consumers who want to repair their garments. This project tries to connect diverse generations to achieve sustainable garment consumption practices. So we have identified two kinds of users. During the first phase, we have seamstresses and tailors between 50 and 70 years old. The call to action during this phase would be to request them to take part of the National Seamstresses and Tailors Directory. And during the second phase, we would like to work with clients who want to repair their clothes ages between 20 and 30 years. And the call to action would be to invite them to explore the directory and contact a professional listed on the website. So far, this is exploration I have done with seamstresses and tailors. I have personally interviewed many of them. They are between 45 and 70 years old. Some of them consider they can do many things besides repairing. Some of them develop patterns according to any body shape and can also advise clients on colorimetry users. So some of them didn't find the word repair that familiar with their experience. The woman explained, because most of them, except by one, were women, explained that they use their job. They chose this job because it allowed them to also do domestic labors at home. They actually use Facebook and WhatsApp in their daily life to communicate with current clients, but they don't use it to collect or contact new ones. Many of them want to expand their business and like the idea of exposing their work online more often. And few of them are actually afraid of sharing their personal data online, considering that many of them have their workshops at home. And well, at this phase, I think I am kind of ready to implement a first mockup. So I would like to find volunteers, especially, well, based in Lima. So I have to translate this whole project to Spanish. Workshops in Lima. UX designers based in any part of the world who can structure a first demo website for testing. Third, photographers who can help us collect visual evidence of the works these seamstresses are currently doing. And finally, and very important because of the fact that many seamstresses are afraid of sharing their personal data, I would like to connect with experts on the process of informed consent and data sharing. And yeah, that would be it. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Super cool project. Let's see, questions, comments. Love how you're using an online project to gather around a very physical and material, no pun intended, problem. Yeah, super awesome, and very, very clear right away what you're trying to accomplish. Really cool idea. Could be applied to many other things and places in the world. So have you thought about I mean, like expanding to other services other than seamstresses, or sort of making it more general?
Would be lovely, actually. I like the whole repair movement, but I thought I could start with seamstresses because it's an audience I have already worked before with, but would be lovely.
Totally. Really like that, Lucia. Really like this project. Made me connect with my background on fashion. Your problem made me think of the paper "Digital Natives, Digital Migrants." So maybe check that out.
Cool.
And then the last one was for me. I love that you're considering consent on data sharing and those issues right up front in the project instead of having them become an issue later. I think that's super smart. So nice work.
Thank you.
All right, next project would be User Lee. Perfect.
Okay, hello, can you hear me? Yes, okay, thank you. My name is Tim and I want to present Usually. So the problem that we're trying to tackle is that usually all email that is sent is stored unencrypted on your provider's servers. That means that an administrator that is behaving maliciously, or maybe an attacker can read all the email that you have stored, which can be like several years of very private communication. So Usually is a free and open software project that enables users to encrypt their email addresses, encrypt their email storages in such a way that even the administrator of the email server itself cannot read the email. So we have three focus areas, that is privacy, self-service, and community. So for example, the community aspect, like one aspect is that you can invite friends to the system. This is the only way to add people to the system, either through an administrator or a user that has this invite code and can give it then to a friend that will visit the site. Copy link, and it's not working at the moment. Sorry, this is just the demo version. So then the privacy aspect, for example, is that you can create additional aliases for your email address. So when you use a web shop, you don't have to use your personal email address that maybe has your name in it, but you can just generate a new random email address and give that to the service. And privacy part of it is privacy I already said. The self-service part really was that we have done those recovery tokens that help you restore your password without giving other information about yourself. So when you lose your password, you can use those recovery tokens to regain email content, although it is encrypted so that no one can read it. During the open leaders, we have started to do some actual documentation. Here, help is very welcome. Especially, I would like someone to try to install the project and see how this works out. There should be. So this should be like the easiest way to do it. I would be very interested in some feedback. Also, we have improved the usability of Usely itself. We have added very recently a Spanish translation, and we tried to make the community much more inviting. And for the sprint for internet health, I'm going to present Usely in the Crypto Rave in Sao Paulo next week. And I hope that we can there start a Portuguese translation. Of course, there's all kinds of localization that you can do all over the months, and later on, I would be happy to that we could support more languages and involve more people from different parts of the world. We have created the mods sprint label on GitHub. So as you can see, there's a translation, but also there's like easy like templating parts or some first issues that should be like, this is actually coding, but should be manageable in a small amount of time. Yeah, that was it. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I've said it before, super cool project. Let's see, questions, comments. Unbelievable that emails are stored this way. Thank you for tackling this important issue. Yeah, that's really surprising. And especially because emails seem to be so personal. Abby gives you kudos for the live demo, so brave, which went well. Nice work. I really like the community aspect, helps creating a belonging feeling. And someone says they will definitely try it out. Yeah, I also love that again up front that you're focusing on the different languages. So, which I think would be really helpful versus trying to translate everything later.
Okay, thank you very much again.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. We're gonna go back to Julia. Let's see if the connection is better now.
Try again, Julia. Oh.
Is it any better now?
Sometimes.
Barely.
Okay.
I feel like it might not. I don't think it'll work for a full presentation. Really sorry, Julia. If you can't make one of the other calls, you can try recording a little piece.
I can do that. Just wanted to say thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Julia. Yeah, we heard that piece. That was.
That's the most important bit. The rest is in the doc anyway. So thank you.
Thanks, Julia.
All right, well, that's it for Cohort A, Mozillian Wizards. Super impressed with all these projects. Everybody's come a long way. I can't wait to start deciding which ones to start with the sprint. The last little bit we have is maybe you're nonverbal right now and just hanging out. If you want to get involved, leave your name and your GitHub or Twitter handle at the bottom of the Google Doc. If you haven't thought about doing open leader training, it's a super great experience. If you are a mentee right now, being a mentor is a completely different experience and also super rewarding and fulfilling. So consider that. Otherwise, I think that's a wrap.
Group photo? Group photo?
Oh, group photo.
If you want to be in the photo, please unface mute yourself. Rob, what should we? Yeah, I'll take the picture.
Okay.
What should we do, Rob? You can decide.
Oh, fun face. Goofy face.
A goofy face?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm getting the screenshot ready. Oh, I accidentally took a screenshot of no one that was ready. Okay, what's our goofy face?
This is a webinar on the engagement of major groups and other stakeholders.
I don't know what's happening. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Look at that group.
Very good. Okay, Cool. Nice work, everyone. Just a little admin stuff. We'll be getting an email from me or Mark in a couple weeks about a final survey, and you fill that out, then we'll send you your certificates to say that you graduated. But we will be asking you about the sprint for internet health, so I wanted to wait a bit for you to actually sprint a little before sending you the survey. So it's coming soon. Keep an eye on your inbox so that you can get your certificate. Yeah, super inspiring to watch all this. Rob, do you want to close this off?
I think you said it all. Again, totally my pleasure to go through this journey with you guys, and maybe we'll see you again soon in different roles or online.
Yeah.
Great. See you later.
Awesome. Thanks.